Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel, Kathy and Lesson Plans. Today I'm going to be introducing you to the curriculum that we have chosen for our kindergarten year. We are using the Heart of Dakota program. I have quite a few friends that are homeschool moms, and I have used their recommendations on things plus what I found on the internet as far as reviews to give us a good idea of what we wanted, and it came down to, there were about 3 or 4 different ones I bounced back and forth with. Not sure which one I wanted to go with, but this is the one that we settled on, and I'm happy that we did this. I'm really enjoying this, and the kids are really enjoying it. This is the teacher lesson planner. This is Little Hearts for His Glory, an early learning program for ages 5 to 7. Now, we are using this with my 5-year-old and my almost 4-year-old. I know that she is more a preschool age learner at this point, but the way that this is set up is working really well for both of my kids. They're both being challenged, they're both retaining, they're both comprehending, and they're enjoying the program, and so I'm happy that this is what we have settled on. I actually finally made my decision based on what I was reading on KathyDuffyReviews.com. I really like her website because she not only gives a review of whether it's a single subject book, science, math, or an actual all-in-one curriculum. But I like that she gives the reviews, and she also gives a good summary, so you kind of know what you're getting before you actually buy the product. And I knew that we wanted an all-in-one curriculum. With this being our first year, I wanted something where my time wouldn't be completely monopolized by writing lesson plans and trying to come up with manipulatives and hands-on things to do. I have 3 small children, and so my time is very precious, and I wanted us to start out on the right foot. I didn't want to be frazzled and just stressed out, and so this has been perfect so far with us. We're on week 3, and we're really enjoying this. So when you open up the book, you have your table of contents, and you can see from the table of contents we're starting out in the beginning of history. This is a Christian curriculum, and that's what we've chosen for our family. And you go through things like the Exodus out of Egypt, the time of the Judges, Israel's first kings, and you're going all the way through Jesus' miracles and the spread of Christianity, and then even all the way here, settlers move west, Civil War. This gives a really broad overview of all of history. I'm talking the very beginning of creation all the way up to present day. This is a kindergarten curriculum, and so we're not getting too detailed in each thing, but giving a good overview of all of history at this point. Now, the way that this program is set up, it's set up into two parts each day. There are 34 units or weeks, so 34 weekly plans, and each plan is set up into 2 parts: learning through history and learning the basics. The basics focus on language arts and math and phonics, and also fine motor skills. And the learning through history part, it gives a broad overview of history from creation through present day and emphasizes God's plan throughout history. You've got Bible stories, Bible memory work, devotional topics, science, discovery, art projects, dramatic play, thinking games, rhymes, gross motor skills, and music. And the introduction is very detailed, which is super helpful for someone starting out. This is nice because it kind of lays it out for you and gives you an idea of what to expect and how to go about using the lesson plan. So this is Unit 1, Day 1, and this is the learning through history part. This is the learning the basics part. So under Learning Through History, you have reading about history, science discovery, rhymes in motion, Bible study, and corresponding music. Let's see down here. The corresponding music is a CD that you get to help with your Bible study memory verse. Each week you have a memory verse, and the verses are set to music and put on a CD that you get with the curriculum. And within the liner notes of the CD, it tells you what version of the Bible to use for the scripture for that week. This area here where it says Science Discovery, that actually rotates each day throughout the week. So the next day is Artistic Expression, and then the day after that is Dramatic Play, and then you go back to Science Discovery. So it's kind of like your, if you were in an actual school where they rotate certain things like art and drama and stuff like that, it's kind of rotated through there. You still, every day, you have a hands-on activity to emphasize and to work on gross motor skills. And this rhymes in motion, at the back of this book, there's a rhyme for each week throughout the year. And so I'll show you those in a minute. When you move over to learning the basics, you have your fine motor skills, story time, your phonics, and your math. And that's pretty self-explanatory. And so, I mean, the book, it's pretty much the same all throughout for 34 weeks. One of the things I really like about this is it doesn't just say, okay, this is the story you're reading out of this book and these are the pages. It'll give you a key idea of what you're wanting the children to focus on, and a lot of times it'll give you an activity to pair with that, so that you're using multiple forms of learning to help the children retain what you're teaching. So in the back, here's a few of them. These are the rhymes. This is in the appendix. So these are the rhymes that you're going to pair each week. This is actually week 1 here, God's creation. And the rhymes are either sung, and if they're sung, they'll tell you what tune that it would be set to, or you just say them like you would a poem. But you have the words on one side, and then you have the motions on the other. So this is another gross activity skill. Also, in the back, in the appendix, if you're using this for maybe a first or second grader and you need to beef up the curriculum a little bit, this book shows you how to do it. You've got the phonics pacing suggestions. You've got the science suggestions where it's giving you additional work to pair with what's already in the lesson plans, and they do the same for the math as well. So that's kind of how you get away with saying that this is for 5 to 7-year-olds and not just one age group. So that's that is the teacher lesson planner. And then we're going to go through the additional materials that they send you. I think I'm going to start out with the history books. I really am enjoying the resources that they provide. The kids are getting a lot out of the books that they have chosen, and so I'm really happy about that. This is the history book, History for Little Pilgrims. It is very basic. It's set up for primary grade students. It's got a lot of pictures in it, and the way that the lesson plans use this resource is that you don't read an entire chapter in one day. You usually read a section. For instance, this right here, it's got Cain and Abel, which is one section, and then you've got Noah's Ark and the Flood, which is another section. You've got the Tower of Babel, and then you go into Noah's 3 sons, and then you get to the review. And the review is you've got words to know, something to do, an activity to pair with that chapter, and then the unit review. And all of this is obviously a verbal review because we're talking about kindergartners here. But the kids really like this. Like I said, it's very easy for them to understand, and the pictures are nice and bright and colorful. And so we're both, or well, all of us are really enjoying this book so far. And then the next history resource we have is this History Stories for Children, the 2nd edition. This is by Dr. John Wayland, and this, I didn't mention that, this is printed by the Christian Liberty Press. And these are just additional stories to pair with what you're learning as an overview in your History for Little Pilgrims. For instance, this is Coming to a New Land. These are very short stories, about 2 pages each. At the end of each story, you have vocab words and comprehension questions. Once again, all of the review is verbal. And you can see that most of this, if there are pictures, are black and white. I wasn't sure how my kindergarten and preschool age children would do with books without pictures, but I have been pleasantly surprised the way that these books are written are very easy to comprehend, even at their level, and they're short, and they're retaining things and they're enjoying it. So far so good. This is our science text. This is from the God's Creation series by Edward J. Schuin. I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced. Could be wrong. But the way this book is written is actually written, it's written as in the first week of creation. You know, where day 1 God did this, day 2 God did this, day 3. And it goes through, you can see at the top, there's a 3 here, there's a 4, there's a 5. It goes all the way through day 7. And the pictures are super easy to understand as far as what's going on. The writing is very it's not super detailed, so it gives a nice overview of what you're reading. And there are some review questions at the end of each, you call it quote unquote day. But we're not reading through it actually, as in, this is page 1 and moving on to page 2. The way that the lesson plans and the teacher's manual have it set up, we're skipping through and hitting different topics depending on where they fit within the lesson. For instance, today we were going over, let's see, we were talking about page, where is it? 53, the ostrich, and then we did 57 and 59, elephants and zebras. So we just follow this book the way the lesson plans have set up in the teacher book. But once again, this is another very easy book that gives a really broad overview of some beginning ideas of science. And so we really like this one. For our Bible study, once again, I showed you the rhymes. That's kind of part of the Bible, some of the Bible stuff are in those rhymes that we're doing with the gross motor skills. But we also have our Bible stories, and this is the resource that they send. You actually have the option of using this, or there's one that's called like 101 Bible stories. But when I was picking out which one I wanted, this one was more suited for younger children, so this is why we chose this. And I like that the Heart of Dakota gives you a couple options for resources. They don't just say, this is what you're using for the Bible, this is what you're using for handwriting or whatever. It's, you know, these are the options you have. But this is a really nice, colorful Bible with, you know, a good summary of all of the stories. The kids like the pictures. So that's our Bible. This is our devotional. This Family Time Bible and Pictures is written by Kenneth Taylor. And this is Devotions for the Children's Hour by Kenneth Taylor as well. And so they kind of pair up. They pair up with what we're reading really well. And each devotion is about 2 pages. At the end of each devotion, they'll have questions, a prayer, and then a hymn to sing. There's also something to read in the Bible. And so it's just a very straightforward devotional. We don't do this every day. It's kind of like every other day, how it's put in the lesson plans. And I think that is all of the learning through the history stuff. Like I said, you also get a CD with the scripture verse, the memory verse for that week. You get the CD with those in it. So the next thing we're going to go through is the fine print, the fine motor skills section. You have your handwriting program, but they also have these additional workbooks, and they kind of go back and forth where one day you're doing handwriting, the next day you're doing a worksheet out of these, and I guess it's kind of to break up the things and, you know, give the kids a break on one thing while you're still focusing on the idea of fine motor skills and using a pencil. It doesn't seem like they're doing the same thing all the time. And so this is Do It Carefully. And this, let's see, this is by Rod and Staff Publishers. And these are very basic worksheets. They kind of emphasize, well, you're working on using a pencil and that kind of thing, but they do emphasize there's some math things, math concepts emphasized in here. There's also handwriting and phonics, and so you get a good overview of a lot of the basics in these. We do about 1 page a day when we do these. This is for like the first semester here, to Do It Carefully. And then the next one, Finding the Answers, is for the second semester. And so those are those. And this is A Reason for Handwriting, Book K. You also have the option of A Reason for Handwriting, Book A, if your children were maybe past this level. And then there was like the Getty and Dubay italic book, and I actually used KathyDuffyReviews.com to choose the handwriting program. I liked what she had to say about this program better than the other, so that's why we went with this one. This is this is kind of like the beginning, you know, if your child hasn't really begun to write, this is a great book. It talks to you about, you know, the lines on the paper and, you know, where kind of where your letter goes, and I like how they call it the tree house, and so it's easier for the kids to understand, okay, my circle, you know, needs to touch the roof and go to the floor or what have you. So it kind of is a nice visual for them. And then this book is pretty straightforward. You start with learning to follow the dotted line tracing, and you've got wavy lines, and you've got circles, and then you go learning slanted lines and more circles, and you've got circles and straight lines, and you go back and forth with all that stuff, and then you get into actually tracing letters. And so it shows you, before each letter, it shows you where on the tree house it is, and then it lets the child trace it first, and then they have opportunity to do it themselves. And so they're doing really well on this. My 5-year-old is pretty much at the right level for a kindergartner. My preschooler obviously is a little bit behind in the handwriting, but with her, right now we are using this year as kind of a wait and see. You know, if we get to the end of the year and she's ready to move on to first grade, then we will. But if she needs more review, or if she needs, you know, maybe a do-over for kindergarten next year, then that's absolutely fine. That's what we will do. But so far, they're doing well with this book. With the Heart of Dakota program, you can choose, they give you 2 choices on the Phonics program, or you can choose your own Phonics program. The ones they have listed as options were Reading Made Easy or the Reading Lesson. After reviewing those 2, I chose to go a different route. We're using All About Reading, and I actually have a video on that one on my YouTube channel where I showed you what that program looks like for us for this year. But they also have, the Heart of Dakota program also has a story time section where you get these chapter books. These are classic books. They're written by Thornton Burgess and Beatrix Potter, such as The Adventures of Peter Cottontail, Peter Rabbit and 11 Other Favorite Tales, The Adventures of Buster Bear. You know, these are very, very classic tales. They are just typical chapter books. Very few pictures, and if there are pictures, they're black and white. Once again, I wasn't sure how my kids would react to reading or having books read to them that don't have pictures, but they've done really well, and they're enjoying the books. And in the All About Reading Phonics program that we're using, at the end of each lesson, there's a section, a part where you're supposed to read to your child for 20 minutes. And so that's where these kind of come in. They fill that spot in the program. And then for our math, we are using Singapore Math. And this is Essential Math, Book A. And then we have Book B for when they finish that. This is for the first semester. And this is a very straightforward math book. We started out learning about what same means and what different means, and then moving on to sets. Then we will be learning to count to 5, different numbers, number order, shapes, patterns, length, weight, capacity. And then once we get through that book, then we move on to this. And obviously these are just concepts that are, you know, further past the book A part. So we're talking numbers, you know, 1 through 20, addition, counting on, subtraction, part, counting back, addition and subtraction, and, you know, all this. We do a couple pages a day on this. The kids really like these. They're very easy to do. They're fun. They're written in a way that is just very self-explanatory, so it pairs nicely with the Heart of Dakota program, and all of the books that have been picked out for this curriculum have paired really well. And I forgot to mention that the Heart of Dakota this is put together, it's written by Carrie Austin, but we are very happy with this program so far. And I will probably go ahead and make another video about halfway through the year and let you know how we're doing with it. But as I've said, we enjoy this, and I hope you stick around for more videos from me. Thanks.